we led the show with the news that the Tush Push was not banned by the amount of membership necessary. That means to get this rule changed, it had to have 3/4 of the league voting for it. They wound up 2 votes shy. 24 needed, 22 said ban it. The 10 teams that voted against the ban: the Eagles, Ravens, Browns, Lions, Jaguars, Dolphins, Patriots, Saints, Jets, Titans. If 2 of them had switched their votes, it would have been out. Instead, it stays in the game. To talk about it is our friend Mark Schlereth, multiple Super Bowl champ from Fox Sports, 3-time champ to be exact, joining us here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, sir? Good to see you, Mark.
It's always good to be with you, Rich. I am doing great. Thank you so much for asking.
All right, so your viewpoint of the news that it came close, but no cigar for those wanted the Tush Push out. It stays in the game. Your thoughts, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Obviously, if you don't have a quarterback that you're comfortable doing that with, if you're Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, if you're one of those quarterbacks that you don't feel like, a Joe Burrow type of guy, and you're one of those teams, you certainly don't want to have to defend it. One, and part of the reason you don't want to have to defend it, obviously, you don't want to run it as an offensive staple of yours. So, interestingly enough, like I have said this many, many times, they banned that pushing a defensive player as actually a special teams rule. So you can't push a defensive player on the special teams unit on
Correct.
PAT field goal and on punt pro. And so my thought process, if it's unsafe there, then isn't it unsafe everywhere? And why do we not have equity in the rule? Like, there is no equity. And people say, well, they're pushing on a quarterback. Are they? Because even in this picture that you're showing right now, you've got a guy behind the tight end, or excuse me, a tight end behind the quarterback. You got another, I think, wide receiver behind the or a running back or whatever it is.
Yep.
So like, you're pushing the butts of offensive linemen as you're creating leverage in this play. And so to me, it's exactly the same as the rule that you made illegal on the special teams side of things, that's okay on the offensive side of things. So the lack of congruent nature in the rule makers, to me, is the biggest issue I have. When I hear people say, well, it's not a football play. Yeah, it is. It's a great football play. Smash mouth, right? It is like, control the line of scrimmage. That, to me, is the difference between winning and losing in the National Football League. So I think it's a football play, and I find it entertaining. And I'm always looking at, like, how are they going to stop this? What are they going to do to stop? Like, I look at it as an analyst, so I don't have any issue with it. The only issue I have is with the league. If it's good for the goose, then it should be good for the gander. And the lack of continuity is the only thing that bothers me.
Well, the only thing, another lack of continuity I was, hearing about from those who are listening to the behind-the-scenes chatter of the debate that went down over whether to ban it or not, is the offense gets forward progress, the defense does not. So if you stop them, the pushing can continue, and the pushing, when it continues, 99 out of 100 times benefits the offense as opposed to the defense, and that's an issue. But the player safety aspect of it, what do you think? Is it a more dangerous play for linemen because there is all that pushing going on, Mark, than it would be than a regular sneak play? Is it more dangerous, do you think?
No, I don't think it's any more dangerous, Rich. I really don't. I do think, and this is probably a good thing, a change the league has made over the years from a player safety standpoint is, I can think back to, even my career, and you go back beyond my career. This play would have become inconsequential because Frontier Justice would have taken care of it. Somebody got hurt. So there was a time in the NFL where we'd have just injured somebody and they said, okay, now we move on. So nobody's going to run anymore. So I am glad that the league and the way the players think has changed to a degree. From that standpoint, I don't think it's any more dangerous than any other play. playing football is inherently dangerous, and there's 100% likelihood that if you play this game, you're going to get hurt. Um, it's just really virtually impossible to stop. And the other thing on the defensive side of the ball is if you lined up and pushed mano a mano, like you got behind a defensive lineman and pushed them into the offensive line, into the quarterback, like why don't teams do that? Well, then if we just run a fake, like there's nobody in the back end to stop the passing game. So, it truly is a play which is completely leans into the benefit of the offense and really puts the defense is in an impossible position. And usually, like if that rule was the other way around, if the defense had a unbelievable advantage and put the offense in an impossible position, the rule will be changed because this is a league that predicates itself on creating offense. And so if the shoe were on the other foot, it would have been voted out 100%. So, it's just one of those things that life ain't fair. Get used to it. And we will always err on this in this league on the side of benefiting the offense.
And I'd love to find out from the 10 teams that voted to keep it, voting against this ban, what their reasoning is. Obviously, we know what the Eagles' reasoning would be. You pointed out if you've got the quarterback for it, you'd want to keep this in the playbook. I mean, I'm looking at some other, like the Dolphins. That's not their reasoning. That's for damn sure. Here are the Saints. You would think.
All the coaches came from Philadelphia with the Saints.
That said, I don't see Shane Steichen's Colts on here with Anthony Richardson, right? Who would be big enough. You do see Cam Ward's Titans. I don't know. You see maybe the Jets and Lions and Ravens. They're just like teams that are just say screw it. We're not gonna vote to ban something just because it can't be stopped. I'm wondering if that's the general through line here is that they didn't buy the it's not a football play, it's a pace of play issue, it's also something that could be dangerous. They didn't buy it. I don't think that was it.
No. And I tell you the other thing is, like, I think you could look at it and say, well, wait a minute now. Like, we've got a big enough or thick enough offensive line. We got a couple of burly tight ends. We got a running back, or we've got a wide receiver who was a quarterback in college. Let's put him back there and we're built in a similar way to Philadelphia. Let's put our own version in here. And so I think you get some teams that look at it that way, like, wait a minute, man, we can benefit from this as well. Yeah. And I'll tell you the other thing. If you're physically built that way, like if you are a smash mouth, let's control line of scrimmage, like a Baltimore Ravens football team.
Lions.
Why would you like the Lions? Like and as many trick plays as Dan Campbell and the Lions run. Like, of course you're looking at that like, man, it's innovative. I love it. Let's do it. And let's create, like, we'll take Jared Goff off and we'll have Amon-Ra St. Brown run it, right? That dude's a freak show, or one of our running backs run it.
Laporta, Laporta.
I look at all that stuff and think that the teams that love that kind of smash mouth, let's control line of scrimmage, let's run the football, let's do these things. All those teams look at that and go, hey, man, I want to play where I know on 3rd down and 1, we're doing something. And to me, there's a toughness. I always talk about running the football, Rich, in this league. Mm-hmm. And running the football, to me, is not so much about what you average per carry or how many yards you have at the end of the day. It is in critical crunch time situations when the defense knows you're going to run it, when you know you're going to run it. Can you get 2 or 3 yards in those situations? Can you convert a 3rd down and 2? Can you convert a 3rd down and 1? Can you run the ball in the red zone? And I'm always fascinated by coordinators who say, well, listen, they're playing us in an 8-man front. You've heard this a million times before. Playing us in an 8-man front, we weren't going to bang our heads against the wall. We've got one-on-one access to the outside. Mm-hmm. Well, where you never have one-on-one access to the outside is in the red zone, because everything, or you always have access, but in the red zone, everything's an 8 or 9-man front. You know what I'm saying? Because the safeties are now playing with their heels at 8 yards. So everything's an 8-man front. So teams wonder why they struggle in the red zone. Well, they struggle in the red zone because they don't know the first thing about actually running the football. and they're not truly committed to it. So it's your ability to basically dictate terms in critical moments, second down and 4-, third down and 4-. Can we still convert first downs in the running game? And that to me is really the truth about running the football. And teams that fancy themselves tough, fancy themselves built that way, they're going to vote for keeping this play in.
Mark Schlereth here on the Rich Eisen Show. Before I let you go, what'd you make of the news that the Caleb Williams last year was hesitant to join the Bears, eventually did, and let it be known that he wasn't told what film to watch. He was not giving any indication by the coaching staff how to watch film and what to look at. Mark, what'd you make of that?
Yeah, like that is that's shocking. It's if it's 100% true, it's malfeasance of coaching, and not only that, but it's the way the Bears built their football team. Like they kept Bajent, who's also a young player. Why is there not a veteran quarterback in that quarterback room teaching the young guys how to study it, how to look at it, right? Stop in the film and go, okay, what do you see here? Well, what's the indicator? Why is this safety going to rotate down? Why, like the why questions as a young player are so important. And it's not just the coaching staff, but it's the veteran players on your football team, how your football team is constructed. I walk into a facility every Friday before I call a game on Sunday. And there are facilities I walk into and I walk out of thinking, Rich, to myself, they think they're studying, they think they're preparing, they think they're working hard. They truly don't know the first thing about it. And it's why they stink. Right. And so, like, there are teams you walk into and you watch that practice, you watch the sharpness of it, you watch the attention to detail of it, you see the players, locked in, and you're like, well, this team, there's a reason this team is really good. And I think those are the things that you consistently see in the NFL. And if that's what the franchise is doing in regards to Caleb Williams, well, I'm shocked that he had 20 touchdowns versus 6 interceptions. I know he took 68 sacks. That's part of understanding, hey, where am I protected? Where am I not protected? When do I have to throw hot? How can I change the protection? How do I work in unison with my offensive line? All those things become vastly important, and all those things can be studied on film to give yourself that advantage. And if nobody's walking you through that as a young player, I am shocked. It's like, it is amazing that you put up the stats you put up at 66% or whatever it was. And like I said, 20 versus 6. That's phenomenal for Caleb Williams if that was what was actually going on in Chicago.
And I'm also not to give a whiff of a hint of it at a podium microphone. Not even once did he make it seem like, guys, you have no idea what's going on around here. You know what I mean? Like, not once did he twitch in that direction. And that might have been the most impressive thing about his season when you look back on it through this lens, Mark.
When I look back, like, I think about now my commentary, because 68 sacks, like, it's so frustrating. And they're not good, and that's part of that. Part of that is play calling. A lot of it's play calling, but sacks to me are more a quarterback stat and an offensive coordinator stat than they are an O-line stat. So it's just kind of the way the league is structured. Everything is 3-step, 5-step, no hitch, get the ball off and all those things. So your quarterback has to really be in control of a lot of that stuff. And he's got to have that timing and ability to execute and throw the ball on time and get it out and be accurate and all those things. But now that I look back on it and go, if that was the case and nobody is walking you through, like when I played for the Redskins, man, and the Hogs, my first start was against Philadelphia, the Eagles in Philadelphia, #1 defense in football with Reggie White and Clyde Simmons and Jerome Brown and Mike Pitts. And, I mean, it was a who's who of defensive players in the league. And not only every morning did we go through film together as a group with our coach, but every afternoon, one day it was Bostic's turn. The next day it was Russ Grimm's turn. The next day it was Joe Jacoby's turn. Like, they all took individual turns with me, and we went through film. Okay, today we're watching 1st and 10. Today we're watching, blitz pickup, 3rd down and long, and all these situational things. And then, they're quizzing me in there. Hey, what do you see here? Why are we going to get pinched? Oh, the weak side linebacker walked to the edge. It means these two guys are pirate stunting. Understand, if they do this, you're getting that inside pinch stunt. So make sure you take that take that away from the inside out. Just things like that. You're like, oh, you learn how to watch the game. You learn how to understand what they're doing. Hey, this defense, anytime they get in this underfront, man, they're bringing blitz strong or they're bringing blitz weak, whatever it is, like whatever their tendency is. And I sat down with each of those guys, members of the Hogs that obviously were big time players and such respected players, and understood and they coached me through the nuance of what that Eagles defense did. And went out there and opened a can of whoop ass and got a game ball, Rich. So but it was a lot of it was because of the work they did on my behalf to help me have success. And that's what good teams do. Obviously, Chicago hasn't been good in quite some time. And so I'm really excited for Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson's, just a really good coach, a really good designer of plays and great play caller. So looking forward to seeing what Chicago looks like with Ben Johnson at the helm.
How lucky for you to have those guys when you first started off like that, Mark. No question about it. So my follow-up on all of this, and the question is asked with nothing but respect. Were you scared of Reggie White? Was he scary? Were you scared of him?
Rich, I was scared of everybody.
Come on.
I was scared to death. I'll tell you a great story if we got a second.
Sure.
So I'm sitting on the bus, and I'm a 10th rounder out of the University of Idaho, and I am scared to death. I truly am. And I don't know if I belong. I really don't. I mean, but I'm getting my first start in Philadelphia. And Doug Williams walks on the bus, and he walks by me. And I can feel him over my shoulder stop. And, I'm listening to my headphones, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he backs up, taps me on the shoulder, I take my headphones off. And he said, he's our starting quarterback. He says to me, the only difference between you and them is they got an opportunity to make a name for themselves, and they took advantage of it. And he goes, today is your opportunity. You will take advantage of this. I have nothing but the utmost faith in you. And I walked onto that field saying to myself, hey, I might not be good enough and I can live with that, but it's not going to be from a lack of study, a lack of effort, or whatever. And like I said, I opened a can of whoop ass and got in a fight in that game, as a matter of fact, because I was like, listen, there's one thing that's not going to happen. You are not going to punk me. I promise you're not going to punk me.
Against the Eagles? Against those Eagles? Who'd you fight? Who did you fight?
I fought Mike. Mike Pitts took a swing at me, and I tried to break his jaw. And got flagged and everything else. Oh. And it's funny, after the game on Monday, I end up getting a game ball. And Joe Bugle, God rest his soul, my first offensive line coach in the league.
Legend.
Joe walks up to me, and he says, hey, listen, we don't fight, right? We don't fight. We don't take 15-yard penalties. We don't fight. He goes, but great job. He was proud, like he was a beaming father, man. He was like a father. He's like, man, you played your ass off. That was an ass whooping, and it was really cool. But again, like I said, there was one rule I had for myself is I'm not getting punked. And you are not going to punk me. I don't care that I'm a 10th rounder out of Idaho. I ain't getting punked. I don't care who it is. So, yeah, that was my kind of welcome to the NFL moment.
Unbelievable for Doug Williams to do that. Words, man, from somebody like him. It's so powerful. I love stories like that, Mark. Thanks for the time. Let's do this more often. Let's do this again real soon, brother. Appreciate it.
You got it, Rich.
Great stuff.
Take care. Hey, congratulations, too, by the way, man.
Thank you.
I see a lot of great success coming your way. You deserve every ounce of it.
Thank you, Mark Schlereth. You're a good man for saying that. Appreciate it. That's Mark Schlereth, everybody. Follow him at Mark Schlereth. Great stuff. Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.